Welcome to Movie Talk, our weekly show about the people who create the movies and those who star in them.
Hello there.
Our guest, Ewan McGregor, has delivered remarkable performances in a range of pictures, from an addict in Trainspotting to a romantic in Moulin Rouge, and finally to his new picture, an expert in fisheries in salmon fishing in the Yemen.
Oh, this is going to be easy.
So in the banner years of Hollywood, actors were always scared about being typecast. I can't think of anybody who's less typecast than you. I mean, the range of roles. Now, is this fortuitous, or do you deliberately go out of your way to totally change the universe from picture to picture?
I don't know. I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, I make my decisions of what projects to work on very instinctively. I don't have any kind of list of things a checklist of things I'm looking for. I go purely on my instinct for story, really, firstly. I read scripts for story. Before I, give any thought to who's directing or who the other actors are, really the story's got to grab you, and if it doesn't, if that basic foundation of the film, the story isn't great, I don't think that the film can be, regardless of who else is involved. My taste is what guides me, and I suppose my taste is driven by things I feel like I haven't done before and things that I feel like I haven't seen before, you know?
Mm-hmm. But in salmon fishing, you do play a character who is somewhat pedantic, right? And you've never done a pedant before?
Not really. I have never played someone like Alfred before. And that was really, I just read the script and I thought it'd be so much fun to get my teeth into him at the beginning of the film, particularly when he's very repressed and emotionally stuck and sexually nothing much to talk about there and socially awkward. It's just a great deal of good fun things to play, I think. As an actor, you're looking for stuff like that.
Fitz Harrison Price represent the Sheikh's assets in this country. He's a very keen fisherman, so he asked us if we would... Sorry?
Water, Miss Chetwood Talbot, H2O.
Do you want sparkling or still?
Not for me, for the fish. To save us both a lot of time, let me keep this brief and simple. Here, it's very cold. It rains a lot. Here, it's very hot.
You're pointing to Saudi Arabia, Dr. Jones.
I thank you for your time, Mrs. Chetwood Talbot. I'll see myself out. Goodbye. Thank you.
And then by the end of the film, he's in a very different place, and that arc is something that you're always looking for as well. Some change has happened in your character during the movie. It's a lovely, lovely film. It's a very slowly unraveling love story. It's got this amazing, fantastical premise in the heart of it, which is this rich sheikh who wants to introduce his passion sport of fly fishing to the deserts of his country, and he feels that if he can do so, he'll bring peace and prosperity to his people. It's a lovely film.
But I think it's wonderful that you're supporting it, that you're getting out there to explain it, if you will. Because I think a picture of that sort does need an ambassador.
Right.
And so
the lovely Emily Blunt and myself have been doing our bit, for sure, by going around and talking about it. And I'm happy to do so because it's a film that I really love. And like I say, I don't choose my work lightly. I put my heart and my soul into it. And, I spend a lot, just time alone. I mean, a good film will take, 12 to 14 weeks to shoot. That's a lot of time away from my family. And it doesn't come lightly to me. So when a film comes out, like salmon fishing, that I love and I've loved making, and I loved making it with those people. Lasse Hallström's a lovely director to work with. And I can't, just can't sing praises loudly or high enough of Emily Blunt. She's such a beautiful, lovely, funny woman.
Is that, a Willie Jones?
No, this is a new one I've invented.
Is it? What's it called?
This one is called the Chetwood Talbot Beauty.
That's very nice.
It's true.
You're not being funny.
No, I don't have a sense of humor, as you'll recall.
That is true.
The first time I came upon you consciously was, of course, when you worked with, I think, one of my favorite guests on this show is Danny Boyle. Who's a great character.
Yeah.
And unlike many directors, talks great.
He likes to, yes, he's very eloquent.
Trainspotting, now that was, again, you were a very young actor then. Did you do it because of Danny, or did Danny do it?
Well,
take it to
we'd
you?
started our careers together on a film called Shallow Grave, Danny and I.
Yeah,
And we cut our teeth really in movies on that film. And his producing partner, Andrew McDonald, and his writing partner, John Hodge. It was their first movies. It was my first movie. And it made an impact in Britain as a kind of new movie. It had a different look, and people were wondering who this filmmaking team were. And then when we did Trainspotting, it was like a very brave follow-up to Shallow Grave. I think expectations in Britain were quite high as to what we might do next.
Choose life, choose a job, choose a career, choose a family.
Did that change your life really when you emerged from it?
I think it absolutely did. Probably more than any film I've been in. I mean, more than Star Wars, it might have made me have a bigger audience, but I think Trainspotting did something quite unique in terms of my career, but also in terms of it being a film that really went ballistic. I mean, in Britain at that time, mid-90s, it was really quite an exceptional time. Music, Oasis and Blur and Pulp, and there was this kind of Brit pop, Brit cool. Trainspotting was right in the middle of that in terms of filmmaking, and it was a very important movie, I think, for British cinema.
Now do you understand how it felt, huh, Robert? That you, unlike me, lacked the balls to pull the trigger.
Oh, no.
Goodbye, Robert.
Okay, kill me, but don't touch the girl! Extremely amusing.
Kill me, but don't touch the girl. Robert, you should be on television.
Very funny.
What's wrong?
What's wrong, you crazy bitches? I thought you were going to shoot me. That's what's wrong.
Shoot you, Robert. What? I wouldn't do a thing like that.
Oh, no?
No, but I'm having a great time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah, I did a film here in the States called Life Less Ordinary, which was our sort of attempt, I thought at the time, our attempt as a British filmmaking kind of team to crack the American romantic comedy.
Right.
I don't know whether we succeeded or
So
not.
it was an adventure?
It was an adventure, and it was great fun. I loved it, working with Cameron Diaz, and we had a great time working up in Utah. It was a great experience, in fact.
See, I thought you wanted to crack the American romantic comedy market with Philip Morris.
Right.
Which is a
That's
different
right.
kind of fiction.
Yeah. Well, we certainly did do that, yeah. We did crack the American romantic comedy there. Cracked it wide open.
Now, did you have any concerns going into that movie that just people wouldn't quite understand it?
Philip Morris?
Yeah.
No, I know. I mean, it was my only experience ever, really, of turning up on a set where the tone was slightly different than I had imagined.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced that before. I imagined we would be playing, that it would be less of a comedy. From reading the script, I knew there were funny beats in it. Yeah. But I assumed that it would be played much more as a sort of, because it's a true story, much more as a sort of true story biopic, if you like. And then I turned up on set and realised that it was more comedic than I'd imagined.
People keep calling. What's going on?
Nothing. Thought we'd take a little vacation. Key West. Let's pack. Quick. Okay, I'll pack for you.
You did something. You lied to me. You looked me right in the eye and you lied.
Don't get mad. It'll be fine, I swear.
You going back to prison, Stephen? You promised me we'd always be together.
And I'm keeping that promise. We'll never be apart. Never.
Why do I never learn? Why did I listen to you? You son of a bitch!
I think it's one of these pictures that went through different moods and attitudes in post-production.
Even in the edit, yeah.
Yeah.
You said you saw the original.
I saw a first cut, which didn't really work, and then it got better and better.
Yeah.
Which an experience I don't like to repeat.
Good.
Sorry. So now, a good friend of mine, Roman Polanski, and you did a very interesting picture together.
The Ghostwriter.
The Ghostwriter. And now, working with Roman, again, his modus operandi is so different, isn't it?
Yeah. He's quite tough to work with, Roman. I think you have to... It took me a little period of adjustment because he's like two different people. All offset, he's very hostly and gentlemanly and lovely. And he's not ungentlemanly on set, but he goes into his directing mode and he's quite pedantic and he likes things exactly the way they should be. I mean, he'll spend 20 minutes reorganizing the books in the bookshelf that are way out of focus in the background until they're exactly right.
You know the worst thing about my life? You get so out of touch. Everything's done for you. You don't drive, you don't carry money. If I need cash, I have to borrow it from the protection boys.
This is the kind of details we need in the memoirs.
I couldn't put that in. People would think I was a complete idiot.
No, not at all.
No, this shows what it's like being Prime Minister. That's exactly what the readers want to know. How does it feel to run a country? How does it feel to be so cut off? How does it feel to be so hated?
Well, thanks a lot.
And so loved.
What you realise as you go on is he's looking for the truth. He's looking for the truth. He's very demanding of you to find the reality of what you're trying to do, and he doesn't really settle for anything less. And once you realise that, it gives you a great freedom. Like, generally on films, you feel like you should hurry up. There's this feeling that time is ticking away, and you've got to get through the business quickly. And he wants you to take exactly the amount of time that it would take in reality to do something.
Yeah.
So once you realise that, and you follow through with him on that, you learn a great deal. I learned a great deal from him, and I love him very much. I think he's an amazing man and an amazing director.
Big Fish was an adventuresome picture, but
Yes.
didn't quite find an audience. But does that bother you at all? I mean, do you ever look at the grosses of your pictures and say, boy, that's good news, or that's bad news?
No, I never do. It's not really my business to, in a way. I think it's for the producers and the marketing people to worry about that. My gauge of whether a film's success isn't its box office. Of course, you want the films you make to be seen by as many people as possible, but it's one of the recurring movies that's mentioned to me by people coming up to me in the street. Big Fish.
Yeah.
It means a great deal to the people that like it. It means it's a very personal film about. It touches people in a very deep way, especially men thinking about their fathers, or fathers thinking about their sons.
Yeah.
And so it seems to have touched and moved many people, and so. For me, it's one of the more successful films in actual fact, because it's one of the films that's mentioned to me a lot.
People you've played opposite. Again, a great ride,
Yeah.
like from Albert Finney to
Yeah.
Christopher Plummer.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I've worked with an amazingly varied and brilliant list of directors, but also the actors. And I really work with actors. I'm the kind of actor, because I come from the British theatre tradition, I really love to play the scene. That's how I feel like I get my best work. And how I feel that best work is achieved is to throw yourself into that scene as if it's a real thing that's happening, as if you're the character you're playing. And to see what happens almost between the two actors is more important than what's happening on my shot or her shot or his shot. And the best actors and a lot of the greatest actors I've worked with also feel that way. And so, you know, you do connect with these people when you're playing scenes with them in a very unique way, in a very touching way. And I particularly did with Christopher Plummer on Beginners, because it was a very emotional story, and it was a very personal story for our director. We were acting out scenes that actually happened to him and his father, and of course charted his father's illness with cancer and his eventual death. So they were very sensitive scenes.
Well, maybe you should take out a personal ad, you know, where you can explain your situation.
My situation?
Yeah. I mean, you want to be in a relationship and you can't stay in one.
That's your fatherly advice. Personal ads.
Well, a lot of people use them. I did.
What?
If Andy wasn't going to be monogamous, why should I be?
I know better than anybody, and any of the juries who awarded Christopher with his awards this year, that they were right, that they gave the man, the right man, the award, because that performance was quite beautiful and seamless and not noticeable, which is lovely.
And he seemed very affected by that. I mean, he really was ready for the recognition at his age, which was nice to see.
Yeah.
Now, Baz Luhrmann is a man of many words. Now, when you do a picture...
That's an understatement. He likes to talk, doesn't he?
He loves to talk.
Yeah.
Moulin Rouge, did you ever sit down with him and say, explain to me, what is this scene going to be like when it's finished?
No, I think you get a very clear sense of what it's going to be like. I mean, in a way, it doesn't much matter to the actor. What you're trying to do is get that moment right, make it realistic and believable, and tell the story that your character's helping to tell. And with Baz, you do get a very great sense of the magic around him and his incredible imagination, because he talks it, and you know, we worked with him for, I think, 3 or 4 months before we started shooting. We did this kind of very extended, long rehearsal period where we would work on scenes. Those scenes would be rewritten. We'd work on them again. They'd be further rewritten. We'd work on dance numbers, musical numbers. And by the time, it was like being back at drama school, really. And by the time we started shooting, we were sort of living in that world of Baz Luhrmann's imagination. And so when I came to see the film, for the first time, none of it was a surprise. It was sort of exactly as I'd imagined it to feel, because that is the way he talked and lived it and breathed it almost.
You're gonna be bad for business, I can tell.
He involved the actors in the development of the story in the prep, in the rehearsal period. All through the shoot, things were still being tweaked. The whole story of the Duke at the end, and exactly what happens with Satine and the Duke towards the end was always sort of in flux. And even into the edit, he was still working on the story. And I think you'll find that a lot of great directors do that. They shoot what the story is actually evolving all the time, right through to the very last moment, I think.
So exciting, the audience is on the tip, so delighting, it will run for 50
Generally, I like it.
Do you yearn to the stage, to go back to theatre?
Yes, I love it. I think it's where we learn about acting, really, because we have a bunch of people in front of us called the audience who tell us if what we're doing is working or not. And I think we hone our skills on stage. And I'd love to. I've never been involved in a brand new play, and I'd love to do that. I'd like to be the first actor to play a part in a play. And then there's a great many roles I'd like to play on stage too. I don't know.
You see, so many of the young actors today in Hollywood never had any experience in theatre. They just came directly from home video or commercials or something. And that, it seems to me, that technique really, you can see it's missing here and there.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think there's... the lovely thing about acting is there are no hard and fast rules about it. And I think, you know, truly talented and wonderful people can come out of nowhere and have long-lasting careers. For me, personally, I was working in theatre when I was 16. I went into training when I was 17 for almost 4 years. And that was how I arrived at my profession, and I wouldn't like to do it any other way. I think it was very good for me.
Right.
But, you know, there's no right or wrong path, really, to be honest.
Anakin, my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy! If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
You will try.
Was Star Wars a stigma, an advantage? You know, how, when you think about that part of your life, what do you think about it?
I've been lucky. I've always been consistently working, and so I think Star Wars must have had... It didn't do me any harm financially, that's for sure, and it probably got me better known in Hollywood, but I don't really know, because I'd made a great many movies before Star Wars. But I think it probably put me more in the kind of Hollywood stage, if you like. And I love being part of it. You know, it's a nice legend to be part of. It really is.
Yep.
Kids, you know, I have a relationship with children in terms of people that have seen my movies that I didn't have before. And they still, even now, you know, they've just re-released the first film that I did in the cinema. There's a whole generation of kids now that are coming up to me and talking about it and talking about the Sith and Darth Maul and stuff I can barely remember, but I try and come up with some good answers for them if I can.
Have you ever nurtured a desire to direct?
Yes. I nurture a desire to direct every waking minute. I love to do it, but I've always kind of wanted to. I want to wait till I've found the story that I'm dying to tell, and I've done that twice. The first time was a lovely book I read called Silk, and I had the opportunity to try and go over to Italy and persuade the novelist that I was the man to direct it. But I'd heard him say in an interview that only a master filmmaker would ever make his book. And I bottled it. I literally lost my nerve. I didn't go over to meet him. And then 6 or 8 months later, I was literally sent a script to read. My agent said, wait till you see what this one is. And I'd been offered the leading role in it, but directed by someone else. And I felt like I was too close to it. I couldn't take part in it, sadly. Yeah. But then, again, recently I found a great story about an amazing British character in the 1960s who was involved in a solo yacht race around the world. And again, I thought, this is my story, and I delved into it, and I found a writer and a producer, only to find out that somebody else is making that story already, and I was a bit behind the times. So
that's a bummer.
One day soon, I hope my story will land in my lap.
Now, you have, what, how many kids?
4.
4 kids, your daughters. And the oldest daughter is?
16.
And do they do any second guessing about some of your roles?
You know, I've always tried to keep it as sort of mundane as possible, or ordinary, if you like. I mean, my job is sort of extraordinary, but I've always tried to present it to them in a way that this is my job and this is what I do. And if people come up to me in the street when I'm with them, you know, at first they're a bit interested in that and they get used to it slowly. And at school, I don't really know what their experience is with my work. Because I think with Star Wars, you know, a lot of their peers, a lot of their kids in their classes must talk about that, but they don't bring it home. They don't mention it much to me. I keep it as normal as I can for them, and so their relationship to my work is not that. They haven't seen many of my films. I mean, the ones that they can see, they've seen. They haven't seen The Pillow Book, for instance. Not yet.
Shucks. Well, I have only 2 daughters, but they were unstintingly critical when I was involved with a picture that sucked. I mean, I would hear about it. So I think it's your right to maintain a little bit of a cushion.
Yeah. I just think it's nice for them, you know, now my eldest daughter comes to some of the premieres that I have, because she's old enough now, and like salmon fishing she came along to. And I like that. It's nice to share that, because I still love that part of my job. I've never tired of sitting in the theatre for the first time and the room going dark, and then my face coming up on the big screen. I dreamt about it when I was a kid, and I've never got over the excitement of seeing it happen. So it's nice to share that with my little girls.
Yeah, it's a great pleasure to talk to you.
You too. I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
You too. Thank you
very much.